All right, guys, so today's experiment is going to take place in none other than the kitchen. So we are going to be making up a mixture that we are going to show how water and ice, water turning into ice, causes erosion or the breakdown of the earth. So first things first, we're going to set up our lab notebook. So if you'll help me out here, we're going to be writing ice breakers. And we're going to show 4 boxes at the top. So I'm going to draw a line over 2, 3, 4, and we're going to answer 4 questions during our experiment. How is this like a rock? How is this not like a rock? And then we're going to do something, or we're going to do some predicting called what do you think will happen? And what happened? Okay, so you may want to pause your video here to make sure that you get these 4 questions down on your interactive notebook. All right, guys, part 2 to this experiment is going to be after you wrote the questions, you are going to then now take and write 2 words so that we can have an observation before and after. So we're going to then again write observation, or let's just write before, and then we're going to write after. Okay, so before and after, and then we're going to then settle into making our mixture in the bowl. So make sure that you pause and get this down in your paper. All right, guys, now that you have your lab page set up, what you're going to do is the next step is we're going to follow some mixing rules or some directions to mix our kind of plaster is what it's going to be like. So somewhat like a rock, you're going to kind of describe that. So first things first, you're going to get some gloves on. 1 for each partner, so just 1 glove you're going to need. You're going to need a mixing kind of bowl or a bag, depending on the availability during the day. You're going to need a measuring cup. You guys, yours might look a little different than mine, but I'm going to use a measuring cup. You're going to need some salts. You're going to need some flour. And you're going to need a spoon and a bag or a balloon. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the actual ingredients that you're going to need to go get. So you're going to need a 1/2 cup of flour. So a 1/2 cup of flour. So if this is a full measuring cup, you're going to need half of this. So I'm going to go ahead and get that. You can send 1 lab person up for a 1/2 cup of flour. Once you have that 1/2 cup of flour, you're going to pour it into your mixing bowl or bag. Okay? And then you'll be ready for the second ingredient, which is salt. And you're going to need a 1/4 of a cup of salt. So you're going to take the salt, I'm going to fill it up to my 1/4 of a cup mark. Measuring, making sure that's a 1/4 of a cup, so shake it around, make sure that you have a good 1/4 of a cup. And I do, 1/4 of a cup. And then you're going to mix it and put it into with your flour. Notice that it's just going to be a powder material. So you're going to take your mixing spoon. You want to go ahead and put your glove on. I'm going to put my glove on here. And you're going to go ahead and take your spoon and mix the dry ingredients together. So you want to mix that around really well before adding any of the wet ingredients that we're going to add. We're going to go ahead and mix that around really well. All right, and then you'll be ready for your wet ingredients. But go ahead and get that started first. All right, your next step is you're going to go get a cup of water. And your water is going to be for two reasons. One, you're going to fill your bag, I have, or a balloon. If you're at school, we have some balloons. So we're going to fill it up with some of the water, but only some, just a small amount. So I'm going to add enough to my bag that it's going to kind of fill up enough of the bag. I don't want too much. If you pour a little too much like I did, you might want to pour just a little bit out. And then what we're going to do is tie up the bag really well. So you're going to make sure that none of it leaks out. And we're going to tie up the bag and put a knot in the top of the bag. So you have to do this kind of carefully. You're seeing that I might be dripping some on the counter. That's why we're in the kitchen, why you're going to be doing it in your lab. So go ahead and tie that up really well so that none of the rest of the water comes out. Okay. All right, and once you have that done, then you'll be ready for the next step. Okay? All right, guys, now your next step, once you have your water ready, then you are going to, or your water balloon ready, you're going to take some of the water and you're going to pour just enough, a little bit, into, now notice I didn't dump the rest of my water, just a little bit at a time, and you're going to take, you and your partner are going to mix that water in really well. We want like a Play-Doh, so we don't want to mix too much water in because then you're going to get it too, you're going to have too much water and too much liquid and it's not going to make a Play-Doh. So you're going to want to mix it in a little time and really mix it around so that you're going to see first it's going to be kind of crumbly. So if you can see in my bowl, it's going to be kind of crumbly at first. And then we're going to be able to use our gloved hand. We're going to mix it together. So we're going to add just a tad bit of more water in this one. Just a tad, not a lot. A lot. A little goes a long way in this science experiment. And once it's really good and crumbly, then what I'm going to do is you're going to take and you're going to start mixing it, you and your partner, together. And remember what I said, you want a Play-Doh consistency. So if you get, still kind of a lot of dough and you don't get kind of that Play-Doh consistency, then you can add just a little bit more water to it. And I think I'm going to add just a little bit more water to mine. Just a little bit at a time, though, very little. See that I'm adding just enough, and I'm going to take and mix my spoon with it first, and then I'll stick my hand in it. We don't want gooey. We don't want gooey. We want Play-Doh. So little at a time. If you pour too much, then you didn't do the right consistency, and then your science experiment is going to have to be thrown in the trash can, and you're not going to be able to, finish it. So please make sure that you follow the rules. So I'm going to go ahead and see. But mine was a pretty good consistency. My glove is trying to touch it, so I'm going to take my glove off. Try to keep yours on the best you can. Yours are going to look a little different than mine. So I'm going to roll it up. You can see it's a pretty good Play-Doh form, and that's what you're going for. I don't want anything still on your hands. It shouldn't really be wet. Maybe a little bit of residue, but not a lot. Okay, so you want to be really careful with your water. Okay, so once you have this, you're going to be ready to go for the next step, and that is to flatten it. So you and your partner are going to make sure that you flatten it kind of in your hands. You're going to lay it out, because the next step we're going to do is take and put our balloon or your bag of water inside, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now you're going to see the bag in mine, or your balloon top, is going to be sticking out. Well, this part right here is going to represent, the part that sticks out is going to represent the water seeping into a rock, and this is going to be our rock. And what we're going to do is we're going to first, kind of get it all the way around. Make sure there's no other seams inside there. So this is going to be our rock. And our water has seeped inside of our rock, and what we're going to do Mine is already trying to come out the bottom, so make sure you cover it all the way up. You want to make sure you don't have any of your rock, okay, water showing other than the top. Okay, so you're going to have to play with this a little bit, make sure. And then you're going to have your plate that you're going to put your rock on. Okay, so make sure that you label your plate with your name on it. So I'm going to use my plate here, which is my lid. I'm going to use my plate. So I'm going to make sure that my name is on it, and then I'm going to put it onto my plate. And with that, I'm going to let my rock kind of sit out first. So today, while you're going about your day, your rock is going to be sitting out. Okay? And we're going to let these harden overnight. Okay? So before, though, you're done with this experiment, you need to go back to your lab page, and we're going to kind of write in or fill in the questions. And remember, one of the questions were, how is this like a rock? So you can kind of give the consistencies. What do you think it's going to be like a rock, especially after it hardens, and it will? What is it going to look like? How is this not like a rock? So what's the difference between this and a rock? What do you think will happen? So I want to know, what do you think will happen? And here's the experiment that we're going to do. Today we're going to let this sit out. Tomorrow we're going to send these to the lunchroom to Mr. Andy, and we're going to ask him to put them in the freezer for us. And inside the freezer, they're going to stay overnight. And then tomorrow, when he pulls out all of our rocks, we're going to see what happens. So what do you think will happen to this bag? We know the bag is probably going to freeze, but then what do you think is going to happen to the actual rock? And then that's when our last piece will fill in what happened, but we can't write in what happened yet because our experiment's not done. Now, before you get started, before you finish with your experiment, or get started on anything else, you need to finish the before. So I'm going to draw out with color pencils and my pencil. I'm going to draw what it looks like before. And not only am I going to draw, but I'm also going to, you got it, write it. So you're going to go ahead and write this out as well. Draw and write what it looks like. And then tomorrow, when we pull them out of the freezer, we're going to be able to see the after and what happens when water seeps into rocks. Now, you probably already have a hint from your notes, but go ahead and make your predictions because it might change. Who knows? All right, so go ahead and make sure that you follow each step of the lab, and you know the last step is going to be cleanup. So you might want to pause the movie now, and then when you get ready to start cleaning up, here are the procedures for cleanup. You are going to have your rock. Your name is on your plate. I didn't put mine on here because it's the lid, but your name is on your plate, and that's going to stay on and go back on your lab tray, okay? And then all of the other pieces, so anything that needs to be washed, if it's not plastic, you can go ahead and toss that in the trash can, making sure that you don't have any extra supplies at your table. Take those back to the lab table, back to the back, so that everybody has access to those. Any extra water, you're going to go dump out into the bathroom or the water fountain carefully. Please don't spill any on the floor. And make sure that you don't spill any on our floor because remember it gets really slippery in the hallway in the classroom. And then you're going to make sure any of the measuring cups go onto your lab tray along with the other supplies and turn those in at the end. Make sure if you made any messes, you get a paper towel and a wipe. Wipe down your tray in your area. Be neat and tidy. And then the last step is going to be to go wash your hands. Carefully go wash your hands into the sink in the bathroom. And then you're going to be ready for the next part of the Near Pod. See you guys.